we find joy when all this chaos is going on? I needed to learn to just focus on the connection instead of the perfection. You know, I could find joy by just leaning into the moments where we feel impactful. Like maybe I'm helping out some of the kids with their stuff right now, or maybe I am organizing the fun or doing something spontaneous. But as a dominant personality, I think the loss of control when I wanted to have everything mapped out was my biggest sense of frustration. Welcome to Real Talk with the Parenting Blueprint Coaches, where we discuss all aspects of parenting using the foundation of understanding personality dynamics to raise independent, responsible, and resilient children. My name is Karen Wagner, founder of Teaching Our Youth and the Parenting Blueprint. Let's dig right in with today's topic and have some real talk with the Parenting Blueprint Coaches. Welcome to Real Talk with the Parenting Blueprint Coaches. I am Karen Wagner, and today we're diving into a topic that hits close to home for so many parents during the holiday season: unmet holiday expectations. So whether it's that picture perfect holiday card, you remember doing holiday cards with your kids, get a whole family ready and ready to shoot that picture, and just the stress of the holiday card alone that sometimes never even got mailed out. Or maybe there's a family dinner that ended in chaos. I remember one year when the kids got sick that particular Christmas, and everyone threw up the green bean casserole. I mean, we still to this day have not had green bean casserole yet, but that was quite a mess to clean up. Or maybe it's magical moments that just didn't go as planned. It's easy to feel let down. But here's the thing: how we experience disappointment can be deeply connected to our personality type. So, understanding our unique needs through the DISC model of human behavior can help us process those feelings and find joy in the holiday, even when it's perfectly imperfect. So, let's unwrap this topic and discover, how do we navigate through holiday stress with grace? So let's get started by breaking down how each one of the personality types, the dominant, inspiring, supportive, and cautious, experience holiday stress and unmet expectations based on their internal emotional needs. Now, the dominant personality style, which is my predominant style, our internal emotional needs are really about choices and control. And, we thrive on results and we love being in charge, but the holidays can often bring that lack of control. Plans change, timelines run late, people get sick, things don't go as expected, and can leave us feeling frustrated and powerless when our perfect plan falls apart. So, how do we overcome the disappointment? I needed to learn to shift my focus from control and be more flexible, reminding myself that flexibility was my strength, flexibility was my strength, and looking for the small wins. Even when the plan doesn't succeed, celebrate what did work, like getting everyone to the table for dinner, even if it's 20 minutes late, and delegate tasks to feel a sense of leadership and avoid feeling the burnout. One of the things that I'm really enjoying now that my kids are grown and flown is I have access to not only my daughter, but my bonus daughters, and everyone contributing what they want to bring to dinner, how we are flexible in what we do. One of the things that really challenged me as a dominant personality when my kids were younger, and we would have a sit down dinner with the extended family, and I would be hosting because, of course, I like cooking and I like being in control, is that for many years I would do like a prime rib roast. And then I'd have family members that would show up an hour late for dinner. Do you know how frustrating it is to feel as though you are ruining a meal, because that's not a cheap cut of meat for Christmas, right? Because people aren't on the timeline. And what I did is I set myself up for that. If I know that the family is chronically late, then let's not do prime rib anymore. Let's do something that will have a little bit more longevity if I have to keep it warm. Or what we do right now is we just kind of do small plates and we just do pickings. And maybe after we open gifts, we will then have more of a meal. But we just have to keep it flexible, because to sit down and have that sit down holiday meal when everyone was at the table at the same time was just not working out for me. So how do we find joy when all this chaos is going on? I needed to learn to just focus on the connection instead of the perfection. I could find joy by just leaning into the moments where we feel impactful. Like maybe I'm helping out some of the kids with their stuff right now, or maybe I am organizing the fun or doing something spontaneous. But as a dominant personality, I think the loss of control when I wanted to have everything mapped out was my biggest sense of frustration. Now, for the inspiring personality, now remember the inspiring personality is fast paced but people oriented. Their internal emotional needs is really about that recognition and approval. I mean, the inspiring personality, they are like the life of the party. Like they love everyone coming in and being the host with the most, the hostess with the mostest, and thriving on the excitement, connection, and just everyone loving everything that you've done. And when the holiday season feels a little boring or quiet and it doesn't have that same type of energy and doesn't live up to our expectations of that joy and the social energy, we can start to feel a little bit disappointed. So, how do we overcome some of that disappointment? Sometimes we just need to reframe those quiet moments. So instead of seeing that downtime as boring, think of it as an opportunity to create those small, intimate connections with those that are close to us. Maybe we do try to infuse some fun into mundane and just turn those routine tasks like wrapping presents or decorating the tree into a playful, fun family moment. And acknowledge your efforts, even if nobody else does. Okay. If you know you've put together an amazing meal or an amazing party that you threw, give yourself credit because that's what matters. I know it's nice to know that everybody else appreciated, but you know deep down that you did your best. And how do we find joy? We need to focus on creating the meaningful experiences, even if they're little small. Play a silly holiday game, watch a favorite holiday movie together, or do something spontaneous to keep that energy and light fun. It really is all about, for me, because I am dominant and inspiring are my predominant traits. I really enjoyed the energy of having everybody together. And again, some of my disappointments came when my kids got married and I had to share them with other families. And I wasn't able to have everyone together at the same time, especially at Christmas. And so I could be really sad and disappointed that they were choosing to go to an in-laws house and not my house. But I had to remember at this point in this season that I was sharing my kids. They had another family, even when they were teenagers. I remember being a teen and doing this to my mom. So I guess it's coming full circle. But just the fact that, I'd have the holiday open gifts with my family and then boom, I wanted to be out the door with my friends. And my mom was like, why don't you want to be home? And then my kids became teenagers and they were starting to do the same thing. After we did our stuff, they wanted to dart out and be with their friends when I wanted everybody together. I love the energy of that. And it just wasn't happening anymore. So I needed to modify my expectations. Now let's take a look at our supportive personality. Now, the supportive personality, again, is a little bit more reserved. They focus on the relationships. Their internal emotional needs are appreciation and affirmation and security. And so the supportive personality really values peace and that emotional safety. Believe it or not, sometimes holidays can bring some conflict, unexpected changes, a lack of togetherness, leaving us feeling a little unsettled or even withdrawn. And I'll tell you, I remember feeling this the most when I went through my divorce. Now, we're a blended family. Mark and I have been married 20 years now. But I remember the first year of my divorce, and I didn't have my kids on Christmas. I had them Christmas Eve, and then Christmas Day, they were with their dad. I was an absolute basket case. I mean, I cried, and I'm not talking little cry, leaking cry. I mean, boohoo, wailing crying because I didn't have my kids. My supportive traits are kind of at the midline. I'm, more dominant and inspiring, high energy, want to get things done. But this hurt my heart. It was so, so difficult. And so I had to minister to myself that I had to share my kids at that point, and that it wasn't always going to be that picture perfect holiday that I had always imagined. So, how did I need to overcome that disappointment? I mean, I had to practice self care when things were feeling overwhelming or I was feeling this sadness. I just needed to take some quiet moments to reflect, think on the positive things, and focus on those moments to help me recharge. I needed to learn to set some boundaries. And those of you who have this as your predominant traits, if family gatherings get too chaotic, It's okay to set boundaries and limit the amount of time that you spend with people. Create a plan if you need to step away from the chaos if it gets a little overwhelming. And also be okay with communicating your needs. Okay. Let others know how much you value the peace and harmony and the traditions that you create. And then communicate how they can support you to create that wonderful holiday that you have in mind. Reach out and work with somebody on this. So how do we find joy? Let's lean into the traditions that bring us that comfort. The supportive personality can find joy in just creating that warm, cozy spaces, meaningful one-on-ones with the ones that we love. It really is all about the traditions that you create and the relationships that you have in that connected time over the holidays. Something that's really important and very special about the supportive personality. So let's round this out with the cautious personality. Now, the cautious personality, again, is more on the reserve side and focused more on task. And their internal emotional needs are quality answers, value, and excellence. They crave precision and order. And when the holiday season feels chaotic, disorganized, and doesn't meet their high standards, it can lead into feelings of frustration and disappointment. How many of you have done that? You've worked so hard for this picture perfect, what I call that Hallmark Christmas, only to find out that everything is going sideways when you put so much time and effort into planning all those little details. So how do we overcome this disappointment as a cautious personality? The first thing I want to let you know, look, we need to let go of perfection. Okay. It puts so much stress on us to do that. So let go of the perfection. Remind yourself that the goal of the holidays is the connection, not the perfection. Try to create some realistic plans and build in some flexibility into those expectations so that you have some room, when things are not going to go perfect. And let me tell you, they're not. Focus on the details that really do matter. Maybe those cookies weren't perfect and they got burnt, but let's laugh about what happened as we cook those cookies, Let's find ways that we can enjoy even the little things that don't go well for us. And as a cautious personality, you can find joy in the small and thoughtful details that you can control. Maybe you're writing heartfelt notes in the cards that you're giving to people that year, or creating something meaningful and as a gift for somebody else. So try to focus more on the emotional value rather than the perfectionism of what you want this holiday to look like. So now that we've explored the unmet needs that can lead to disappointment, and let me tell you, I've had a number of those. Here are some strategies that anyone can use to embrace a perfectly imperfect holiday. The first thing I want to share with you is just get a gratitude check. Take a moment to list maybe 3 things that you're grateful for during the holidays and shift your focus to the gratitude. That can make even the small wins feel big. I know when my kids were still in high school and even in college, they were working in retail. And so around retail, they were still working on Christmas Eve. They were even working, I'm going to take this back to even Thanksgiving, Black Friday. And so the traditional holiday that most people will have because they're off from work was not happening. My husband works for the airlines, which is a 24/7 operation. And so very rarely, unless Christmas was on the day he was off, he wasn't off. And so there were so many levels of disappointment. But what I did need to do is just be grateful for the time that we had together. There are many holidays, and we're doing it again this year, that we won't be celebrating Christmas on Christmas. My kids are married with children. They want their magical Christmas morning. I'm not going to get Christmas Day. But what I do is get the weekend before. So I have a whole weekend and not just a couple of hours. So I still want my time, but I needed to know that Christmas morning, my children won't be with me. My grandchildren won't be with me because they are experiencing their time. But just be grateful for the kids that I have, the grandkids that I have, and knowing that we are setting the traditions up that they will continue in their homes. We need to let go of the should, release the pressure of what we think the holidays should look like, and just embrace them for what they are. I know we have this vision. I did too. Let me tell you, I set myself up for those disappointments. Okay. So let's just embrace them for what they are and not what we think they should look like. And let's stay present. So instead of worrying about what didn't go as planned, let's focus on what's happening in the moment and just be present. And remember to reconnect with your why. Reflect on what this holiday season really means, whether it's connection with your family, gratitude, or your faith. I mean, as a Christian, I need to remember, what is this day all about? It's not all about the presents and all the food and all the things. It really is about the day that our Savior was born. I have to remember what that's about. So let that guide your actions. So there you have it. Holiday expectations may not always match our reality, but by understanding your personality and what drives your unmet needs, you can reframe this disappointment and find joy in those imperfections. So, this holiday season, remember, it's not about perfect plans or flawless moments. It's about creating memories, showing up with grace, finding beauty in the chaos. And I'm telling you, it's going to happen. So, I really hope that you have a blessed holiday. And I want to thank you for tuning into Real Talk with the Parenting Blueprint Coaches. And if this episode has resonated with you, like it, share it with a friend or loved one, and don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss another upcoming episode of Real Talk with the Parenting Blueprint Coaches. I wish you all a perfectly imperfect holiday season filled with love and joy. See you next time.